nature is a reflection of the greatest aspects of humanity. And when people, uniquely human beings, create great works of art or architecture, we get to put a designation on it as a way to tell people that this is special and here's why. But it also represents that Los Angeles has world-class art and culture for the entire world to enjoy.
Hollyhock House now is officially Los Angeles' first World Heritage Site ever.
Are you a religious man yourself?
I've always considered myself deeply.
Do you go to any specific church?
My church, I put a capital N on nature and go there.
Frank Lloyd Wright looked to nature for all his inspiration, and it's what informs the design of everything here.
This was a house that was commissioned by an oil heiress back in the 1920s. Aline Barnsdall saw the potential for this space where ideas and creativity can merge. And she wanted to have an iconic space in which to celebrate art, architecture, and the performing arts. And so she hired Frank Lloyd Wright to design it. And Frank Lloyd Wright designed this house in a way that he had never designed a house before. So it represents a period in his career that is incredibly unique.
You can't even compare Hollyhock House to the other well-known textile block houses in Los Angeles because, again, Hollyhock House was the first. Frank Lloyd Wright wanted to create an architecture that was endemic to Southern California, not something that imitated anything, and that's why it's outstanding. And the interest of the objects to me is that they represent Barnsdall's personality, whereas the architecture could represent her personality in terms of taste and direction, but that's Wright's genius.
That's Wright, yes, exactly.
So, yeah, you've got kind of a interesting dichotomy, and we have...
And the creative tension that went between the two of them was astronomical. But what came out of it was, in a sense, what we think is Frank Lloyd Wright's, perhaps his best work. And Aline Barnsdall's vision, 100 years later, has actually taken root here at Barnsdall Art Park. She wanted the Frank Lloyd Wright designed structures to become a permanent home for the appreciation of art and architecture when she gave the park to the city in 1927. And by doing so, she provided an art center to the community that incorporated and preserved the famous Hollyhock House as a crucial component. But perhaps the most lasting legacy she left is a dedicated place maintained and operated by your city for all to celebrate and enjoy the culture. With this inscription by UNESCO, her dream continues.
I think a lot of people around the world have looked at Los Angeles as a place that produces modern culture, but we have a reputation as a cultural wasteland, which we know is totally false. We have some of the greatest architecture in the world. This is the first time the United Nations has recognized any place in California as a cultural heritage site. To us, that means that people know that Frank Lloyd Wright and the architects that followed that came here not only changed LA, but they changed the world. One of the amazing things that has happened since we got this designation. We've seen the number of visitors doubled. So we're expecting people to come here from all around the world and all around LA. Having that UNESCO imprimatur means that everybody now will want to see it, and we can't wait to welcome them here. You for UNESCO.
It's not just a city designation, this is a world designation. This is a recognition by the world about how important this is culturally.
Why do we call it Hollyhock House? We call it Hollyhock House because hollyhock was Aline Barnsdall's favorite flower, and she asked Frank Lloyd Wright if he couldn't possibly use it in the design. It's all over the house.
As an architect, how would you like to change the way that we live?
I wouldn't like to change so much the way we live as what we live in. I'd like to have architecture that belonged where you see it standing and was a grace to the landscape instead of a disgrace.
Between 2008 and 2014, Project Restore managed the restoration of the Hollyhock House. In 2015, the mayor and I and others, we held a grand reopening of the house with an overwhelmingly successful walk right in, a 24-hour first come, first served tour of this architectural gem. Lines wrapped around the corner all night long, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., it didn't matter. That's how much interest there is in this site.
Together with this man who has always loved this place and really been a curator and a protector of it, we joined together with our partners at the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy, and we took the first step by applying to UNESCO for this designation. It took time. It took patience, but we all made it happen.
With this designation, Hollyhock House enters into the lexicon of cultural designations that include the Taj Mahal of India, the Forbidden City in Beijing, the Venice Canals, and many more cultural treasures known the world over as UNESCO World Heritage Sites.
And this designation also comes with great responsibility for us to continue to maintain this site for generations.
I think people should come to see Hollyhock House because they're in for the surprise of their life. No one knows what to expect, and when they walk in the door, there's a jaw-dropping, it's enchanted. And it really is.
Culture is alive in Los Angeles. We want every neighborhood to have cultural treasures that are lifted up onto pedestals and celebrated by all.
It means a great deal to the longevity and the civic pride and to the city in general, not just this park, but for the entire city.
This is not just a special place for Los Angeles. This is not just a kind of holy site for this country. It is now a recognized site for the world. And I encourage folks in Los Angeles, many of whom don't know about this jewel, to come here and to see this extraordinary place.
Now, you can't expect an average man or woman who wants to build a house to know. Something inside them has to tell them what is good and what's bad because they don't yet know. You're building another house, that's all. But that's the way it is now, until architecture comes back again.